I never thought I'd be that guy, the one who finds out his wife has been screwing around on him right before the wedding. I mean, we had been together for 5 years, and I genuinely thought we were solid. Jessica always seemed a little high maintenance, sure, but I figured that's just how she was, demanding, bitchy at times, but nothing I couldn't handle. We had the perfect wedding planned, or at least I thought so. The invites went out, the venue was booked, the dress was paid for, and I was already picturing our life together. Things started feeling off a few weeks before the wedding, though. Jessica's attitude shifted. She became more distant, always on her phone, hiding her screen whenever I tried to peek. She'd snap at me for the smallest things, like I was inconveniencing her just by being there. I also noticed she was staying out later than usual, claiming it was work-related, but her stories didn't add up. She'd brush me off, tell me I was overthinking or being paranoid, said I was ruining everything with my suspicions. She'd lie, I could tell, just to cover her tracks. Then I found her phone one night when she left it unattended. I know, snooping is a terrible thing to do, but I was desperate. I just wanted to see if there was anything going on, and what I saw made my blood run cold. There were messages, flirty, suggestive, downright explicit, between her and someone named Mike. At first I thought maybe it was just innocent, but then I saw the time stamps. It was the night before our wedding. The night she was supposed to be at home, peacefully sleeping, resting up for the big day. Instead, she was out with Mike, apparently, doing things I don't even want to imagine. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. My hands were trembling as I scrolled through more messages. There were pictures, too, some from Jessica's phone, showing her in bed with him, her legs wrapped around him, her face flushed and smiling like she was having the best sex of her life. I couldn't believe it. The woman I loved, the woman I was about to marry, was cheating on me with my best man. My best man, for crying out loud. I had trusted Steve with my life, and now I realized he'd been part of this betrayal all along. I didn't sleep that night. I kept staring at those photos, trying to process what I had just seen. The worst part, Jessica had lied to me for months. She told me she loved me, that she was excited about our wedding, that she'd never do anything to hurt me, and I believed her. I wanted to believe her. But all along she was sneaking around, lying, hiding her true self. I felt numb, betrayed, sick. How could she do this? How could she lie so effortlessly, act like everything was fine when she was out screwing someone else? The simple truth hit me like a wrecking ball. My whole life was a lie, and I was about to walk into what I thought was my happily ever after, only to find out it was a nightmare in disguise. I knew I had to confront her. I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. I waited until she got home that night, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. When she walked in, I was just sitting there, staring at the wall, feeling every ounce of the betrayal in every fiber of my being. She looked at me, her eyes cold, defiant even. I asked her straight up what the hell was going on. Why was she cheating on me? She smirked, that bitchy little smirk that I'd come to hate, and said, "Oh, it's just sex, relax, we're not serious, it's nothing." Her words cut through me like a knife. Nothing, nothing. That's what she wanted me to believe, but I saw the pictures. I knew it was more than just sex. It was everything she'd been hiding, her lies, her betrayal, her total disregard for what we had. That moment marked the beginning of a nightmare I couldn't wake from. I realized I was just a pawn to her game, a fool who had trusted the wrong woman. Every emotion I had, love, hope, anger, hit me all at once. I was furious, heartbroken, humiliated. I wanted to scream at her, to tear her apart with words, but all I could do was stand there, feeling the weight of her lies crush me. I had never felt so betrayed, so disgusted with someone I once thought I knew. That night everything changed. I was no longer the naive guy who believed in fairy tales. I was someone else, someone who had to decide whether to fight for what was left of this marriage or walk away from the woman who just shattered my world. The days that followed were a blur. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and every time I looked at Jessica, I felt this surge of disgust that I couldn't shake. Her denial, her dismissiveness, they only made things worse. She kept insisting it was just a one-time thing, that she needed some excitement, and it didn't mean anything. Said I was overreacting, that I was paranoid. That's the kind of bitch she is, constantly throwing up her hands, acting like the victim when she's the one who's been screwing around behind my back. Honestly, I was in a state of shock. Part of me still wanted to believe that maybe she was right, that I was just imagining things. But then I'd see those messages again, or think about her lying right to my face about the whole thing. It felt like I'd been hit with a freight train. I started noticing little things, her phone always charged and hidden, her quick excuses every time I brought up the wedding or her plans. She kept saying she needed time to think, but I knew she was just stalling, trying to come up with a way to spin this whole mess. One night I finally lost it. I was sitting in the living room, scrolling through everything I'd found, feeling like I was losing my mind. Jessica was in the bedroom, acting normal, like she had no idea I knew everything. That was the worst part, her acting like she was innocent, like she hadn't just betrayed me in the worst way possible. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed her phone and started scrolling through her messages again, trying to find some shred of remorse or even an apology. Instead, I found more lies. She'd been messaging Mike almost every day, talking about how much she enjoyed the thrill, how she loved the feeling of being wanted. That's when I snapped. I stormed into the bedroom, confronted her face to face. I threw the phone down on the bed and told her I knew everything, that I had seen everything. She looked at me with that snarky little smile again, like she didn't care, like she'd already moved on mentally. "It's not what you think," she said, rolling her eyes. "You're making a big deal out of nothing. It was just sex, and honestly, I don't even remember the last time I really felt something for that guy. It's not like I love him or anything." Those words, so casual, so dismissive, like she was trying to make me see her as some kind of victim, not the cheater she was. I felt my stomach turn. I was furious, yes, but also so hurt it hurt physically. How could she sit there and tell me it meant nothing? She was lying through her teeth. I could see the guilt behind her eyes, but she was too stubborn, too selfish to admit the truth. I wanted to shake her, scream at her, tell her how much she'd destroyed everything we had. But I stayed quiet, just staring at her, feeling like I was suffocating. That moment made it clear. I'd been a fool to trust her, to believe she loved me. She had her fun, her quick thrill, and now she was trying to act like I was overreacting. I remember feeling so many conflicting emotions: anger, sadness, betrayal, and a strange sense of numbness. My mind kept circling back to all the plans we'd made, all the dreams I'd had of a future with her, all gone now. I knew I had to decide what to do next, but honestly, I was just exhausted. The thought of facing her, of trying to salvage what was already broken, felt pointless. Still, I think part of me wanted to believe I could fix this, that maybe with enough effort she'd realize what she threw away. But deep down, I knew that this was the end of my trust in her. I just didn't know how I was going to face the wedding day, knowing she'd lied to me, slept with my best man, and then had the nerve to deny it all. The woman I thought I knew was a fraud. I looked at her that night and saw nothing but a manipulative, selfish woman who had used me and thrown away everything we'd built. It was the kind of betrayal that leaves scars, and I knew that feeling wouldn't go away easily. I was broken, and I had no choice but to start thinking about my next steps, even if it meant tearing everything apart and walking away from the life I thought I had with her. The days after that confrontation were the worst of my life. I kept replaying everything in my head: her smirk, her lies, the photos, the messages. Knowing she'd been unfaithful the night before our wedding, with my best man of all people, made it impossible to look at her without feeling disgusted. I couldn't even stand to see her face without remembering what she'd done. It was like my brain was trying to punish me, reminding me constantly that I'd been blind, that I'd trusted the wrong person. I felt so humiliated, so betrayed, I didn't even recognize myself anymore. She kept pushing, trying to spin her lies, saying she was confused, that she didn't mean for it to happen, that she was sorry but not really. She acted like I was overreacting, like it was my fault for snooping or for being insecure. Honestly, her attitude just made me angrier. She was so bitchy about the whole thing. It was like she was angry at me for finding out, for catching her. She had the nerve to call me paranoid or insecure when she was the one sneaking around with my best man. Whatever love or respect I once had for her was evaporating fast. My mind kept racing, trying to figure out what to do next. I couldn't stay in the same house with her knowing what she'd done. Every time she tried to talk to me, I felt this wave of disgust. I was torn between wanting to scream at her, break everything she loved, and just walking away. But I knew I couldn't do that without some kind of plan. I started talking to a lawyer, trying to figure out what my options were: divorce, splitting assets, maybe even custody of the dogs if I had to. I kept telling myself I'd be better off without her, but part of me still hoped she might change, might come clean, and maybe we could somehow fix this mess. One night, I decided I needed to see her reaction one last time. I sat her down and told her I was done, that I couldn't forgive her, not after what I saw and what she'd admitted. I told her I was filing for divorce, that I wanted nothing more to do with her. She looked surprised, then pissed off. She started yelling, calling me a drama queen, saying I was overreacting and that I was throwing away the best thing that ever happened to me. That's rich coming from her. She's the one who threw everything away. I just looked at her, feeling numb, knowing that from this point on there was no going back. That night I packed a bag and left. I couldn't stay under the same roof with her anymore. I didn't sleep that night either, lying awake, listening to her stomping around, trying to convince herself I'd change my mind. But I knew better. I knew I'd never look at her the same way again. I kept thinking about the wedding photos, that perfect day we'd planned, how now I couldn't even look at those pictures without feeling sick. She had turned what should have been the happiest day of my life into a nightmare. In the days that followed, I started to get some clarity. I realized I'd been a fool to trust her, to believe she loved me. Her entire act was just that, an act. She was selfish and manipulative, and she'd used me like a toy she got bored of. I also thought about my best man, Steve, and how he'd betrayed me too. The two of them together, it's like I was blind to see the kind of people they really are. I'd always been a good guy, loyal, caring, and I got played for a fool. That realization hurt, but it also gave me some perspective. Now I'm just trying to pick up the pieces. I don't even know how to start over after this. The betrayal runs so deep that I sometimes wonder if I'll ever trust someone again. But I do know one thing: I won't let her or Steve destroy me completely. I deserve better. I deserve someone who will actually love me, who won't lie and cheat behind my back. I just wish I'd seen it earlier. I wish I'd seen her true face before she tore everything apart. But hindsight is 20/20, they say. Right now, I'm just hurting, trying to figure out how to move on from the biggest betrayal of my life. After I moved out, everything happened so fast. I rented a small apartment close by and started the slow process of healing. Or at least trying to. Every day was a struggle. I'd wake up, see her number on my phone, and feel that familiar sting of betrayal all over again. I couldn't escape the images, her in bed with Mike, the texts, the photos. It haunted me in a way I never thought possible. I'd lie awake at night, replaying the moment I found her out, the way she looked at me when I confronted her, that dismissive smirk. The worst part was realizing I'd been an asterisk mark for her lies, a pawn in her game. One thing I noticed was she was trying to act like she was the victim. She'd call, plead, try to convince me that she was sorry, that she'd made a mistake, that she'd never do it again. Bullshit. Everyone keeps talking about how women can be manipulative, and honestly, I've never seen it so clear. She was flipping the script, making me feel guilty for catching her, like I was overreacting. She'd even cry sometimes, fake tears that I knew were just part of her act. I saw through her every time, but it didn't make the pain any easier. I started having serious doubts about whether I could ever trust her again. That scar runs deep. I mean, how do you come back from betrayal of that magnitude? I felt betrayed not just by her, but by everyone I trusted. Steve, my best man, who was supposed to be my friend, was in on it, probably helped hide her lies. I saw the photos of her and Mike, and I realized how deep the betrayal went. That night she was supposed to be with me. She was with him, doing things I don't even want to think about. I was naive to think she loved me, to think that I was special to her. All this time she was screwing around with someone else, and I was stupid enough to ignore all the warning signs. The thing that cut the deepest was how dismissive she was when I confronted her with the truth. She just shrugged, claiming it was nothing, that I was making a big deal out of nothing. That really made me see her for what she was, selfish, manipulative, and totally indifferent to how much she'd hurt me. She kept insisting she loved me, but her actions proved otherwise. I didn't want to believe it, but every moment I spent with her now just confirmed she never really cared about us. It was all a game to her, a way to get her thrills, her ego boost, and then discard me like trash. I knew I had to make a decision. I couldn't keep living like this, feeling sick every time I saw her. I started seeing lawyers, figuring out how to get a divorce. I realized I deserved better than this betrayal. I deserved someone who wouldn't cheat on me, who wouldn't lie and manipulate. Even if it meant starting over from scratch, I didn't want her to ruin me completely. I was done being the fool who believed in fairy tales. One day, I sat her down again and told her I was done, that I was filing for divorce and walking away from everything. Her reaction was classic. She got angry, called me crazy, accused me of ruining her life, said I was overreacting, that she'd never hurt me on purpose. It was all bullshit. She's a master at twisting things around. She acts like she's the victim here, but she's the one who destroyed everything. I saw the relief in her eyes when I finally told her I was leaving. That's when I knew she was glad to see me go. That night I packed my things and left. I didn't want to see her, talk to her, or even be in the same space as her anymore. The house felt empty, cold, like a symbol of everything I'd lost. I kept looking back at the wedding photos, those perfect images of happiness that now make me sick. How could I have been so blind? How could I have trusted her after everything I saw? I was so naive, so trusting, and now I was paying the price. In the aftermath, I've been trying to pick up the pieces. It's not easy. Every time I think about her, I feel this mix of anger and sadness. But I know I can't stay stuck in this place forever. I've started to realize that the trauma of her betrayal has made me stronger. At least, that's what I tell myself. I'm learning to forgive myself for trusting her, for believing in the good of people. I've also started questioning everything about relationships, about love, about who I can really trust. One thing I've learned is that betrayal cuts deeper than words can say. It's a kind of pain that doesn't go away quickly. But I also learned that I have to protect myself. I can't let anyone hurt me like that again. That's the lesson I want to share with anyone reading this. Trust is fragile, and if someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Don't be a fool like I was, thinking things will change or get better. Because sometimes, the truth is just too painful to ignore, and you have to walk away before you're completely shattered. Time has passed, but the wounds from that betrayal still linger. I've been trying to rebuild my life, piece by piece, but certain things, like looking at photos or hearing certain stories, still hit me like a punch to the gut. I never thought I'd be the guy who gets blindsided like this, especially not by my own wife and my best man. That betrayal changed everything about how I view trust in relationships. I used to think love was enough, that if you loved someone, that was all that mattered. Turns out, love isn't always enough when someone's fundamentally selfish and manipulative. I spent a lot of nights questioning everything. Was I blind? Did I miss the signs? How could I have been so stupid to ignore the little things, her disappearing acts, her cold dismissiveness, the way she was always on her phone? I kept replaying everything in my head, trying to find a moment I missed, a sign I ignored, but honestly, I just kept coming back to the fact that I was played for a fool. She lied to me for months, all the while planning her affair behind my back. All those times she brushed me off, told me I was paranoid. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she enjoyed keeping me in the dark. And Steve, my best man, my supposed friend, was in on it, or at least complicit. It's hard to admit that, but I can't deny the evidence I found. They had meetings, secret texts, and even arranged to meet at places I never knew about. I don't know if Steve ever loved me or if he was just as selfish, craving the thrill of betrayal. Honestly, he was supposed to be my closest confidant, and now I see him as nothing but a snake. I can't help feeling betrayed by him more than anyone. I thought I knew him, but he turned out to be part of this whole game. The worst part is how she's trying to rewrite history, making it sound like I was the problem. She's still bitchy about everything, claiming I was controlling or insecure, trying to make me feel guilty for catching her. That's classic Jessica, blame shifting, trying to make herself look like the victim. She acts like she's the hurt one, like I was the one who wronged her. But I see through her now. It's all about her ego, her needs, her selfishness. She never loved me. She loved the idea of being perfect, of being the center of attention. When that was threatened, she just tore everything apart. Now I'm in a phase where I'm trying to move forward, but it's not easy. I've been going to therapy, trying to understand how I was so blind, how I let someone like her manipulate me. I've learned that I have to set boundaries, protect myself from people who only want to use me. I also realize I need to rebuild my self-esteem, that I don't have to accept that kind of betrayal from anyone, especially not from someone I once loved. I've started dating again, cautiously, trying to trust people again. It's slow, but I know I can't let her destroy me forever. One thing that's helped is reminding myself of what I deserve. I deserve honesty, loyalty, respect. Not someone who sneaks around and lies to my face. Not someone who treats love like a game. I've come to accept that I may never fully get over what she did, but I can learn to live with it. I don't want to carry this bitterness forever, but I also don't want to forget the lessons. Trust is fragile and it's earned, not given freely. I wish I'd known that sooner, but now I do. Honestly, I feel a mix of relief and sadness. Relief because I finally took control of my life, and sadness because she's gone and what we had, what I thought was real, was just a lie. I'm still hurting, still angry, but I know I won't let her win. I refuse to be a victim forever. She took a lot from me, my trust, my happiness, my sense of security, but I'm learning to rebuild, to find strength in myself. I want to be a better man, someone who learns from this nightmare and doesn't let it define me, because in the end, I know I deserve better. I just wish I'd believed that from the start. Looking back now, I realize that this whole experience changed me in ways I never expected. It's like I've been forced to confront the rawest parts of myself, my trust, my vulnerability, my ability to forgive. And honestly, forgiveness isn't about her anymore. It's about me. It's about accepting that I was betrayed in the worst way possible and choosing not to let that define my entire life. I still get angry sometimes, still wake up with flashes of pain and resentment, but I also know that I can't let her control my future. What hurts the most is how easily she lied and manipulated, how she could look me in the eyes and pretend everything was fine when she was out screwing around behind my back. That kind of betrayal doesn't just hurt in the moment, it leaves scars that take years to heal. But I've learned that I don't have to carry those scars forever. I've started building a new life, one where I set boundaries, where I trust myself more than anyone else, and where I demand honesty and respect. Part of me still thinks about her sometimes, about the woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew. I wonder if she truly ever loved me, if she ever cared at all. But then I remember the pictures, the texts, the lies. I remember feeling like I was hit with a freight train, betrayed by the one person who was supposed to have my back. And I realize that sometimes people reveal their true selves when it's hardest to look. Jessica showed me her real face, and it wasn't pretty. I want anyone reading this to know one thing: don't ignore the signs. Don't dismiss that gut feeling telling you something isn't right. Trust is fragile, and it's earned every single day. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Because if you don't, you might end up like me, picking up the pieces of a shattered life, wondering how everything fell apart so fast. The biggest lesson I've learned is that you have to value yourself. Your happiness, your trust, your sanity. Don't let someone treat you like an option or a backup plan. If they cheat, lie, or manipulate, cut them loose before they destroy you. I've had to rebuild my confidence, my sense of worth, and I know it's a long road, but I also know I'll get there. Because if there's one thing this nightmare has taught me, it's that I deserve better. And honestly, that's what I want everyone to take away from my story. Love is beautiful, but it's also fragile. Respect is everything. And trust is sacred. Don't take it lightly. Because once it's gone, it's damn hard to get back. And sometimes it's gone forever.